My name is Claire Donovan. As I record this story, I'm still trying to piece my life back together. Maybe this is therapy. Maybe it's a warning to anyone who thinks a vacation in the wilderness is a safe escape. It happened in July of 2023. My fiancé, Josh, and I decided to go camping in the Bitterroot National Forest on the border of Montana and Idaho. We needed time alone. After 3 years of dating and a stressful year filled with work and wedding plans, we thought getting back to nature might help heal the cracks in our relationship. We arrived on a Friday afternoon. Josh picked a spot deep in the woods, nearly an hour's hike from the main parking area. No cell signal, no other people, just us, the trees, and the sound of birds. I remember joking, if someone murdered us out here, it'd probably take a week for anyone to find us. We laughed at the time. The first day was peaceful. We set up our tent, cooked dinner, played cards, and sat by a small lake, watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. But that night, something felt off. I woke up to the sound of snapping twigs. Quiet, almost imperceptible, but enough to make me sit up and hold my breath. Josh was awake too. We sat in silence, listening. At first we assumed it was a deer or maybe a bear, but then we heard footsteps, slow, heavy, circling our tent. And then, breathing. Someone exhaling heavily, just outside the canvas. We didn't move, didn't make a sound. After a few minutes, the footsteps faded. We stayed inside until sunrise. In the morning, we found boot prints, big ones, all around our tent. And something even more disturbing. A length of rope hanging from a branch nearby. Like someone left it there. On purpose. Josh wanted to stay. Probably just some hunter or hiker messing around, he said. I wanted to leave. But we only had one car, parked miles away. Josh said he wasn't leaving without making sure we were just being paranoid. I stayed. Because I loved him. Because I thought we were still safe. The second night, we slept with a knife nearby. Around 1:30 a.m., our tent was suddenly slashed open from the outside. Josh screamed and shoved me back. I only caught a glimpse of him. Someone wearing a burlap sack over his head with 2 holes for eyes. His eyes were empty, cold, animal-like. Josh fought, but the man dragged him out. I only heard the sound of a struggle, then silence. No more yelling, just wind and trembling leaves. I ran, as fast as I could, through thorns and branches, no flashlight, just the moon to guide me. I could hear him chasing me, his breath, his footsteps, branches breaking behind me. He didn't run, he just walked fast, but somehow it felt like he was getting closer. I hid beneath a fallen tree, covering myself in mud and leaves, my hand over my mouth, body shaking. He walked by just a few feet away. I could smell him, wet soil, rust, and something foul. He paused. I thought he saw me, but then he moved on, vanished into the dark. I stayed hidden until sunrise. Then I ran again until I stumbled onto a hiking trail and found a park ranger. They found me dehydrated, covered in scratches and dirt, barely able to speak. A massive search was launched, but Josh was never found. No body, no blood, just a torn tent and an unknown man's boot prints. Police called it an unsolved case, but some investigators linked it to a series of disappearances in Montana's forests. The victims, usually hikers or couples, vanished without a trace. No motives, no ransom, just gone. The media started calling him the Montana Night Hunter. They believe he's been active since 2016. But I'm the only one who ever escaped. Since that night, my life has never been the same. I can't sleep in the dark. I can't hear someone breathing without panicking. I moved to a city, to a high-rise apartment with a full security system. But sometimes, I still feel him out there, watching, waiting. A few weeks ago, I got an envelope. No return address. Inside was a piece of burlap sack and a short length of rope. I know this isn't over, and he knows I'm still alive.
My name is Rachel Miller. When all of this happened, I had just turned 24. I had recently moved to a small town in Montana, right as autumn was setting in. The town was quiet, surrounded by thick pine forests, and the people were kind, though. There was something about the place I couldn't explain, like it was hiding something. I rented an old cabin-style house on the outskirts of town. The price was suspiciously cheap for the size of the property, but the owner simply said, "Not many folks like living too close to the woods." I laughed it off, thinking he meant it was too isolated, but now I know that's not what he meant. My days in Montana started out peaceful. I worked from home as a freelance writer, so I spent most of my time alone. At night, I'd take short walks around the cabin to clear my head, until one night, everything changed. The first night. It was October 11th. The air was freezing, and a thin fog drifted between the trees. As I returned from the local mini-market around 10 p.m., I had a strange feeling that someone was watching me. I stopped in my tracks, scanned the area. Nothing, just silence and the crunch of pine needles under my boots. When I reached my porch, my blood ran cold. Hanging on the front doorknob was a small doll, made of old cloth and tied with twine. Its face was crudely drawn, 2 black dots for eyes and a wide, jagged smile. I thought it was some sick prank by local kids, but when I picked it up, I realized something was inside. I opened it, and inside was a tooth, a human tooth. I panicked. I turned on all the lights and locked every door, then called the sheriff. He arrived about 30 minutes later, checked the porch, and wrote up a report, but he dismissed it as a weird hunter warning. Nothing to worry about. He was wrong. Over the next 3 days, I started hearing sounds at night. Not animals, these were footsteps, heavy, slow, circling the house. I tried looking out the windows, but never saw anyone. Every morning after, I'd find something left behind. A human fingernail nailed into the wooden fence. A photograph of me sleeping slid under the front door. And one night, barefoot footprints in the mud that led right up to my bedroom window. I was getting paranoid. The police stopped responding seriously, saying I was stressed or imagining things. But I knew someone was watching me, and he was getting bolder. The last night in that house, October 17th. I remember the date because I kept a journal of everything. That night, it was pouring rain. The power went out around 10:30 p.m. I lit a candle and sat in the living room, shaking. Then, I heard a knock on the window. Not loud, soft and slow. 3 taps, silence, then 3 more. I approached the window with the candle, and I saw him. A tall figure standing just outside. He wore a long coat, and his face covered in a burlap sack, stained with dried blood. I screamed and ran to my bedroom. I locked the door and dialed 911, but the signal was weak. In a panic, I crawled under the bed, trying not to sob. I heard the front door creak open. Slow, heavy footsteps entered. They dragged slightly, like he was pulling something behind him. The steps moved through the living room, down the hallway, and stopped right outside my bedroom. I held my breath. Then I heard his voice, deep, dry, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. "Rachel, I know you're in there." I nearly vomited from fear. The door rattled, once, twice, the third time. It opened. I saw his feet from under the bed, mud-covered boots. In one hand, a large knife. In the other, He was dragging something, a sack, and from it, long black hair spilled out. I don't know how I survived. As he stepped into the room, police sirens wailed in the distance. He froze, then bolted out the back door. They found me trembling, in shock. Days later, the cabin was searched. What they found was horrifying. Peepholes drilled in the walls, photographs of other missing women, and his collection, souvenirs from each victim, teeth, nails, hair, even pieces of their clothes. Who is he? To this day, they haven't caught him. The police call him the Rag Man because of the burlap sack he wears. Some people call him a myth, but I know he's real. He stalks women who live alone, watches for days, then strikes. I'm the only one who made it out alive. Now, I live far from the woods, in a big city, with cameras and alarms on every door. But sometimes, when the night is too quiet, I still hear soft knocks on my window.